Dus normaal gezien zou je dan toch iets moeten gehoord hebben. Er is in ieder geval al uitzending of niet?
he's prepared for the Macron meeting. But I was in the room when you visited us last time in Copenhagen, and we're so happy to be here.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think we'll just give the last couple of persons the opportunity to come in. And then we'll kick off. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So, Kingdom of Sweden, Vice President of the International Solar Alliance Assembly from Europe and the others region, honorable heads of delegations of the ISA member, signatory and prospective countries of Europe and the others region, Director General of the International Solar Alliance, and all the delegates present here today. It's my great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to the fourth meeting of the International Solar Alliance Regional Committee for Europe and the others region. I'm delighted that we have the opportunity to come together in person for the first time. Since its inception, the ISA has tirelessly worked towards the global energy transition through solar power. The ISA has developed 9 programs encompassing solar applications in diverse sectors such as agriculture, health, transport, storage, green hydrogen, and more. Additionally, the ISA has launched several initiatives to further its course. Some of the flagship initiatives of the ISA that will also be presented before this regional committee are the Solar Technology Application Resource Centers, or STAR-C, to function as training centers and centers of excellence for testing, development of specification and standards, and to serve as information centers to support governments and the private sector on solar energy projects. Also, the Solar Finance Facility to support the development of bankable solar projects, stimulate financing through innovative financing vehicles, and the Solar X Startup Challenge to incubate solar startups and hand-holding them to provide access to manufacturers, suppliers, and investors. So I would like to take this moment to urge all delegates from ISA member countries of Europe and the others region to actively engage with the ISA Secretariat to strengthen this regional grouping and drive the ISA agenda to mobilize $1,000 billion of investments in solar energy solutions by 2030, provide clean energy access to 1,000 million people or 1 billion people, and install 1,000 gigawatts of solar energy capacity. So my minister would have really liked to be here. Unfortunately, he's in Paris for the Macron Financing Summit. But he sends his regards, and I would now like to request my Minister for Development, Cooperation and Global Climate Policy from the Kingdom of Denmark, His Excellency Dan Jørgensen, to deliver a small welcome that we have prepared, a small welcome address through a video message. So I hope we can get it up and running, and the Minister will say a couple of words. Thank you.
Hello and greetings from a sunny Copenhagen. We may not be known for our sunny weather in general, but today solar energy is supplying almost a quarter of the electricity consumption in Denmark, and build-out is booming. It shows the potential of solar energy globally. Thank you very much for attending this important regional meeting of the International Solar Alliance. I wish I could be with you in Brussels. We share a joint ambition. We all want to rapidly accelerate the transition to a clean energy economy. We all want to promote the power of solar energy. The urgency is clearer than ever. We know how much is at stake: our climate, our security, our welfare. More finance is needed if we are to have global climate action to limit global temperature warming. Different actors must come together to mobilize finance at immense scale, moving us from billions to trillions. Governments play a key role too, which is also why I am now attending President Macron's Summit for New Global Financing Pact. I applaud the goals set forward by the International Solar Alliance to mobilize $1,000 billion of investments in solar energy solutions by 2030, provide clean energy access to 1,000 million people towards the deployment of 1,000 gigawatts solar energy by 2030. 1,000 gigawatts of solar energy by 2030 is no small task. Although solar energy is abundant, it represents a tiny fraction of the world's current energy mix. According to the IEA, Africa is home to 60% of the best solar resources globally, yet only 1% of installed solar power capacity. But this is changing rapidly, driven by global action to improve energy access and to mitigate climate change. I wish to compliment the work that is so important undertaken by ISA and its member countries in the past year to promote this even further. Being based in India, ISA is able to draw on the remarkable achievements made for the Indian population. In only 20 years, India has brought electricity to more than 700 million of its citizens. An astonishing accomplishment. Denmark entered into a green strategic partnership with India in 2020, and one of the key areas for cooperation was Denmark entering the International Solar Alliance. I hope we can drive our cooperation even further. Thank you very much to the Secretariat. Thank you to my colleagues. Have a wonderful and productive meeting.
Excellent. And with that, we're also very happy to have the European Commission with us.
Really?
We have, yes. So, Deputy Director General in the Directorate General for Energy, Mr. Matthew Baldwin. Happy to have you here, as I said, and I would like to invite you to deliver your keynote address. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman, and excuse my I may originally have been British, and I can't quite shed the British sense of humour, but it is lovely to be here, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for organising. I didn't know it was the first time you've actually got together as a group. Thanks for organising your regional meeting here in Brussels. And it's given me a wonderful opportunity to meet and we had a lovely talk earlier with AJ. And so it's also, some of you may know, the EU's Sustainable Energy Week. And it's the biggest single networking event dedicated to renewable and efficient energy use. So I hope you sneak out of these discussions and go and listen in at some point to over there today, because we're focused in the 17th edition of the European Sustainable Energy Week on accelerating the clean energy transition towards lower bills and greater skills, which I think actually, in a way, summarizes the underlying things you're trying to achieve. These are crucial issues if we're going to develop industries together, such as solar energy, to accelerate our clean energy transition. Not just to reach the Paris Agreement temperature targets, because we know that has to be done, but also if we're going to bridge the energy access gap, if we're going to ensure a just energy transition right across the world. Executive Vice President Timmermans has a good line. He says, there must be a just transition, or there just won't be a transition, right? So, stepping back from this, and all our smiles and friendliness aside, the current situation is actually very serious. The world is not on track to meet the objectives of the Paris Agreement. We need to accelerate, and we need to accelerate quickly, if you see what I mean. We need, in our view, at the COP meeting, a stronger collective objective as regards the energy transition. So that's why in April, President Ursula von der Leyen proposed at the Major Economists Forum the adoption by the time of COP, this idea of global targets. We have them, of course, across the European Union, global targets on renewables, global targets on energy efficiency to define this clear global energy transition pathway. I think that's essential for lots of reasons and for lots of countries. All members of the ISA, whether your principal aim is to decarbonize your economy, to reinforce your energy independence or autonomy, as we were discussing earlier, or whether it's simply to keep energy affordable for all and ensure universal energy access, or if it's to power more rapid economic growth projected over the next decade for the benefit of all. All of you, all of us, can benefit from this energy transition. The green transition will work when it's no longer seen as the prerogative of green political forces, but when it becomes part mainstreamed of our economy, and that's what you're doing so well. A few quick words on what we're trying to do in Europe with Repower EU and our EU solar strategy. What is interesting, people said, oh, you're going to have to choose, right, when the war came up. You're going to have to back off some of this energy transition stuff. Absolutely not. There's no dichotomy between the green transition and our robust response to the Russian war on Ukraine. Indeed, it's strongly linked. In May 2022, we proposed the very ambitious Repower EU plan to rapidly reduce our dependence on Russian fossil fuels, to speed up our transition out of fossil fuels more generally, to fast forward our green transition. Rapid deployment of renewables is right at the core of Repower EU. We're in the process of adopting now new renewable energy targets by 2030 for to reach 42.5%, what a precise number, of our primary energy mix, with an aspirational reach. You can see how this was compromised in the Council, an aspirational reach up to 45%. And this is a healthily ambitious target, considering that we had reached only 22% by 2020. We've also launched, as part of that, a new EU solar energy strategy. This is, again, similarly healthily ambitious. We want to get from 136 gigawatt installed PV in the EU 2020 to 320 by 2025 to 600 gigawatts by 2030. This mirrors, in fact, and I think it exceeds what the IEA has called for as a stepping stone in terms of net zero emissions by 2050. We've taken this target consciously, it's ambitious, it's going to mean a big drive, and how are we going to do it? Quickly, 4 initiatives to try to achieve it. Firstly, by promoting a massive PV deployment on buildings, often the quickest way to go, via the European Solar Rooftops Initiative. Secondly, by making permitting procedures for solar installations shorter and simpler. I don't think permitting has been such a difficult issue as it has been for wind power, but it's still a real problem and we need to address it. Thirdly, by ensuring the availability of an abundant and skilled workforce for producing and deploying solar energy right across the EU. Fourthly, by launching a European Solar PV Industry Alliance to develop further this notion of the resilient industrial value chain, particularly in the PV manufacturing sector, to really seize this huge industrial opportunity offered in the booming demand for solar energy. We can do this and we must do this. It's about Europe's energy security. It's about Europe's energy autonomy and independence, and nothing speaks to that better, I think, than solar. What it does is brings together this alliance, all the relevant actors in the sector, the buyers, the PV recycling sector, the finance people, research, and flowing from this also comes our proposal for a Net Zero Industry Act to develop a stronger base right here in Europe for net zero industry solutions, including, of course, on solar. I don't have the time, although you might think otherwise, that I'm going to go into all the details of our strategy. I just want to stress two things which are sometimes overlooked and I think are directly relevant to your work. Firstly, job creation. We talked about this, AJ. If we can show that this is not just in everyone's interest and is the path to the solution, but the way to employ people, bring people back into the market, jobs market, we can succeed. In 2020, and so these are already outdated figures, the solar PV sector employed more than 1/3 people in terms of direct and indirect jobs. We can triple, quadruple, whatever the word is for 10 times those numbers if we're going to reach our ambitious solar targets. We already lack skilled workers in the EU. So you need to be, as a sector, the driver of upskilling and reskilling workers, and including, take a very large view, the related sectors such as heat pumps, grid upgrades, battery storage. Again, I've talked about that. And then, and here's the gold. I'm absolutely convinced of this. I worked on a fantastic project before I came here to have 100 climate neutral cities by 2030, a super ambitious target, including cities from all the countries represented here, including even in Denmark. And that is citizens' participation. Nothing speaks better to the green energy transition, I think, than solar. Why? Because it's small scale, it's decentralized, it's visible. You can make a difference as a citizen by getting active, by getting together. Local energy communities are a great way to do this. We will only scratch the full potential of solar energy when citizens and communities are truly incentivized to become prosumers. What a horrible word, but it works well. Innovative financing models must enable access to solar energy for the energy poor and the most vulnerable. This minor conference down the road in Paris, which has taken your minister away, that has the potential to bring things to life because, and I think the institutions have got it, it's about making sure that taking away even the apparent risk of default from the financial backing for renewables projects across the global south. Super important, and I'm very glad that Minister Johansson is there. And this brings me to my final point. You said with the relief, so you can get on with your business. I think it goes without saying that our international cooperation, including in the ISA, is going to be critical to advance the energy transition, and particularly to ensure we uptake renewable energy at a much faster pace. We really need the ISA strategy towards 1,000. So your discussion today, covering partners in Europe and even outside the European Union, will cover a lot of ground on the relevant topics, on skills, on financing and research and innovation. I think, Edwin, you're going to be here for the day joining us, plus Cecile, terrific. We may not be members, but we're going to be very active, watch out. And it's really an opportunity to reflect collectively on our efforts, on how we can develop solar in our respective countries, to learn from each other, but also, and closing, to recognize the huge work you've already achieved in the ISA, and to reflect on how we can all do more in our respective roles as members or as partner organization in supporting what you're trying to achieve as quickly as possible. So I hope you have a fabulous meeting. Thanks for everything you're doing, and thanks for inviting me. And I'm very sorry I can't stick around, but I look forward to hearing how you get on. All the best. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think this leads me actually directly to my next point in thanking the ISA Secretariat for this initiative in enhancing regional consultations and aligning the strategic objectives of the ISA with the regional priorities or national priorities that we can have as member countries and member entities. So our meeting today is an excellent opportunity for us to have greater collaboration, share knowledge, exchange ideas, undertake joint initiatives, and promote solar energy within our region and beyond. So I'm grateful to all of you for your continued support of the ISA, and I would now like to invite the Director General of the International Solar Alliance to address this meeting. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Well, the Honorable Vice Presidents of the regional grouping from Denmark and from Sweden, the Deputy Director General of the EU who just left, but I'm delighted that he was here to talk of the issues that confront us. Also heads of the delegations from other countries who are not yet members, but hopefully will become members soon, and of our partner organizations. May I thank you for this invitation to talk to colleagues. And I hope that this would be a participative discussion. Unfortunately, you will have to put up with me all day. And I could keep on speaking as long as you will let me speak. But as the Deputy Director General mentioned, it's absolutely delightful to meet with all of you in person. I'm glad that we found this opportunity in Brussels, and I want to thank the European Commission, Edwin, who is here from the EU delegation in Delhi, who helped organize this meeting, and I'm absolutely glad that all of you are here as well. We fully understand that energy, and particularly sustainable energy, forms a very important part of the European picture of how we move ahead. As the Deputy Director General mentioned, 22% of the electricity that you get in the European Union is already from green sources, and I look forward to the 45% goal that he spoke about. I also want to note that one of our Vice Presidents, Sweden, is on an annual basis, on a daily basis, there are several countries who reach 100%. You included, Germany included, but on an annual basis, we have Sweden, which is reaching something of the order of 2/3 of their energy share from renewables. I also want to focus on the fact that this goal of 45% or the national goals that we have are not just goals. The fact that, as the Director General mentioned, there is the 4-pillar approach towards reaching these goals is, I think, significant. We look forward to learn about these as we move ahead in the various countries where interventions are necessary. We have seen that Europe's support, particularly for the implementation of the Paris Agreement, has been a key issue in enabling change both in action and in thinking across the world. We want to make sure that we use this stimulus as we talk to our member countries. Currently, we have 11 member countries, 4 signatory countries, and 36 prospective member countries from the Europe region. And we are hoping that more and more of the prospective member countries would become full members in the years to come. I'm delighted that the Deputy Director General spoke of the significant strides that we at IESA had made since our inception, but what I'd like to stress is that much is yet to be accomplished. We look at solar becoming the most preferred energy choice across the world, and I use the word most preferred advisedly, because yes, financing is one thing, but the key issue is it should be available. It should be available in a form and at a place where a person can actually get it. Consequently, solar applications across the board, especially what we call as smaller solar, rooftops, solar mini grids, solar pumps, solar cold storages become very important, because they are the ones who will ensure that not only on the grid, but across all uses, solar energy becomes the energy source of choice. We look forward to building up the capacity to use this. We see that these small opportunities, of course, by no means am I saying that the large solar farms are not important. Of course they're important. But I think the issue is that we need to focus on capacity building, as the Deputy Director General mentioned. We need to focus on capacity building across all kinds of interventions. I have a solar pump on my agriculture farm in central, northeastern India. One of the challenges that I face is that in the village, there are no solar mechanics. The electrician is an electrician. So when I need to get somebody to fix my solar pump, I need to get somebody from 90 minutes away who then comes and, it's almost a day's job for him. We need to address that issue. We need to build clusters of users and look at maintenance at the same time, which means capacity. I'm delighted that so many of you as member countries are focusing on building up capacity. The French initiative on creating country-led interventions, the STAR programs, the Solar Technology and Application Research Centers, have helped us in creating capacity at the level of countries itself. We can do everything we want from Delhi, but ultimately it is in the country itself where the greatest needs can be identified, and therefore the processes initiated to implement it in the manner that most suits the country. It also means that we need to focus on research for those applications. Without, cutting a long story short, renewables are obviously important, but if the devices that are used, whether it is a light bulb, or whether it is a dental chair, or whether it is a school system, energy efficiency matters. Because energy efficiency reduces the amount of renewable energy panels that, for example, that you have to put. That reduces cost dramatically, far more than the increase in costs due to using an energy efficient product. We have, users know this. They've used, for example, solar home systems, earlier with incandescent bulbs, then with compact fluorescent lamps, and now with LEDs. They know that moving towards energy efficient products reduces the overall price of the renewable energy system. I would like to add a third part to it, which is storage. Batteries are important because whether it is a solar home system, you need lighting at night when there's no solar electricity available, so you need the battery systems. Similarly, if you're talking of a grid, solar provides electricity during the day, and in all our geographies, solar is the most or the second most cheapest source of electricity. That's great, but only when the sun is shining. Or wind, in the case wind is blowing. What happens at night? Again, all of us, depend on fossil fuels for electricity at night. We need to ensure that storage comes up. So whether it is at the level of a solar home system which we use, or whether it is at the level of the grid, batteries are important. So renewables, solar, plus energy efficiency, plus batteries is the way we have to focus on the research applications and products going ahead. I would be delighted if each one of you participates fully and shares your experiences, and so that we explore avenues together on how do we promote innovative mechanisms, including innovative financial mechanisms, to move ahead. And obviously, the discussions that occur in Paris will greatly influence us. We have, and this is something that we will follow up later in the agenda, looking at creating a solar facility which provides the risk mitigation to investors who want to invest in solar, particularly in Africa, but in other parts of the world in the future as well. Again, I want to extend my gratitude and thanks to each one of you who is present here. I look forward to this regional committee meeting being a resounding success. And Chair, I want to thank you for the opportunity that you have given me, and I promise you, I will not keep quiet. Thank you.
So with that promise, Director General, I think we have kicked off in the optimal way. Thank you. And once again, a warm welcome to all of you. I hereby formally open the meeting, and the meeting is now in session, so we will move on with the agenda points. Honourable members, the ISA Secretariat has circulated the provisional agenda contained in the working document 01. I request if you have any comments